what's the best way forward?
I'll give you two perverse consequences of such legislation. One, there are 1 million Indian citizens in the state of Jammu and Kashmir who vote for Lok Sabha, cannot vote for Vidhan Sabha, cannot vote for Panchayat, do not have a right to study in state institutions or serve in the state government. They can't own property. They have been there for last 4 or 5 generations because right to state citizenship, the state subjectship, is arbitrarily exercised by the state. 2, there are Dalits who were welcomed into the state in 1957 when the state was facing almost an epidemic-like situation because of a strike by their own Safai Karamcharis. They were given state subjectship. There were hundreds of Valmiki families from Punjab. You know what? They are told if your children, 4th generation, 5th generation, study, become engineers, doctors, architects, they lose state citizenship because if you want to be the state citizen, continue to be Safai Karamcharis.
That's enslavement.
Can you imagine in this day and age? This is perversion. This is not autonomy. And if this is what you've done with the autonomy given to you, I'm sorry. We've dragged the state to the brink of collapse today. It has become, as Sai said, a flashpoint. It is a challenge to our integrity. Under 35A, when they were given a wholesale immunity vis-a-vis Indian Constitution, they actually in writing identified the word integrity and the word secularism as an exception with which Indian Constitution preamble would apply to the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Can you imagine this kind of a challenge to our preamble, which says that India is a secular state? They say this word secular shall not apply to the state of Jammu and Kashmir if this constitution applies to the state. And the word, there are certain obligations that a state is supposed to uphold. And one of them is that the state should uphold the integrity and unity of India. They identify in writing the word integrity as an exception with which this preamble shall apply to the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Now, this is nothing but perversion. And you cannot countenance this in this day and age.
All right. Sushil Pandit, I know you have to be elsewhere. Thank you for joining us on the program and sharing your views with us. Mr. Banerjee, that having been said, a start will have to be made at some point in time, and even you said, when the time is right, probably we can see Article 370 being abrogated. So what's the best way forward, really?
Yes, I would be, happy to accept this legal argument which Mr. Sai has given about women's rights. That could be a point from where to start, and I'm sure wiser counsel can prevail. But the way forward should be sought through consensus, through political approach. It cannot be rammed down through, executive authority or, judicial diktat.
But are certain actors within the valley going to allow, some kind of a political process to take place?
Well, they have in the past, with the proper outreach to them. So I would think that efforts should continue in that direction.
All right. Desai Deepak?
Whenever you speak of Kashmir, it is surprising that the Ladakhi voice is almost a marginal voice. It's as bad or as good as the northeastern voice being the marginal voice whenever you speak of larger India or mainstream India. To the extent that mainstream India seems like it excludes northeast. To that extent, I think even Ladakhis are excluded from the mainstream discussion of Kashmir. I think it's important that they are given an opportunity, they are empowered to put forth their point of view. It is considered because it's a significant population, and that region attracts a lot of tourism, which in turn means that it generates a lot of income. Therefore, if it is the breadwinner or if it at least one of the significant contributors of income, then it has a right on the table to at least put forth its point of view. I am completely with Mr. Banerjee to the extent of saying that a cut and dried approach or a summary approach to such a complex issue and given its complex history would be wrong. But an approach which is designed to keep the interest of the particular issue alive for eternity, because it allows a lot of people to let's say, occupy center stage and call themselves as the representatives of people. I think that needs to stop, because at the end of the day, I don't see a representation coming from Jammu and from Ladakh when it comes to this particular issue. I suspect that Jammu and Kashmir the entire issue is not a monolithic issue. There is a diversity of opinion. But when it comes to its projection, I don't think there is a diversity. That's where the problem is. Let's start hearing people from other regions of Kashmir, and let's start looking at solutions which allow or which empower women in that particular place. Let's see how that goes.
Right. Would you agree with that, Mr. Banerjee, that we have to also take on the sentiments of the people living in the Jammu region as well as the Ladakh region? They seem to be misrepresented more often than not.
Oh, absolutely. It should be tried. It can be tried. I mean, it's an option worth considering. But again, you see, you cannot compare the situation in Jammu